My name is Beatrice. I do stay with us for all the details you need in the next 60 minutes. Now, in our first story, in 2015, 1.1 million people died of AIDS-related illnesses across the world. This is contained in the Global HIV Statistics Report for the year under review. Apart from the stigmatization, persons living with HIV in Ghana have to deal with inadequate medical care. Joining us is Maxwell Agbagba had a conversation with a husband and wife who are both persons living with HIV. In that conversation, Reverend and Mrs. Azuma, heart-to-heart ambassadors, opened up about some challenges.
Because of stigma, people are not taking the medicine close to them. For instance, people in Accra prefer to take the medicine in Koforidua because of still drugs.
Because they fear that when they live in Accra and they go and take it in Accra, somebody would see them taking the drug.
That is the stigma aspect. So look at the cost involved.
So they just travel long distance just to get the antiretroviral.
Very good. So that nobody knows them, nobody see them around. That is one problem. You go and there are no drugs. Now, apart from me not taking the drug, the health implication on me, because there's something we call continuous treatment. When you take the drug continuously, you suppress the virus down. But here is the case, you are not taking it. And when you stop and you start again, the drug does not work because the virus might become stubborn and might not. Yes, when the virus becomes stubborn, they don't pick up the drug, they don't listen again. So people will start the treatment now again, but they will not get healed as we want it to be.
So essentially what you're saying right now is that because they have not taken the antiretroviral drugs for some time now, it's possible their viral load have, increased.
Yeah, what it means now is that people's virus will increase. When the virus increases, the virus will have something we call duplication. So when I start the medicine again, it doesn't work. That's what we are trying to say, that when I stop and I start, I stop, I start, it doesn't work.
Last week we went to a program, a mother was crying. 2 weeks more for her to give birth. 1 month she doesn't take the drugs. And she's crying. She's afraid that the baby will be infected. So we don't even know what to say before they will understand that we are taking the drugs. So we know what it is. We know what happened to us. If we stop, and sometimes, as my husband was saying, and you started again, you will not feel it well.
Interesting. Let me now find out from Reverend Azuma, how difficult is it, or how difficult or easy is it assessing the antiretroviral drugs? Because this drug helps in suppressing the viral load. How difficult is it?
Yeah, sometime in Ghana it was difficult, but to God be the glory, now it's very accessible. And once we test you positive, we refer you to a treatment center. And in Accra, we have a lot of treatment centers close to our door. But again, because of stigma, like I said, you live around La, where we have La General Hospital, where if I test you positive in this hotel, the nearest place is La General Hospital. But once I introduce La General Hospital, people say, no, I won't go there. Because people, my friends, my family are close to the hospital. They might see me. So can you show me a different place? I will keep mentioning names till I mention a different region. So, okay, I prefer that region. I prefer Volta region. I prefer Eastern region. I prefer Central because nobody knows me there. So now the distance.
Did you face that initially when you were declared HIV positive? Did you also face that kind of stigma? And did you also had cause to travel from one region to the other to get antiretroviral?
Yes, I know. Because at the time I was tested positive, there were no antiretroviral in the country. I was tested 16 years ago. 16 years ago at Tema General Hospital. At that time, no antiretroviral in the country.
So what were you using to suppress the viral load?
Even the doctor said that we are going to die. So we should go and, if you have any property, we should go and sell it. That is those days. So we're just living on our faith and some herbs, some Septrin, and finally we hear that the antiretroviral has come at Kolebu. So we went to Kolebu and we were given. And lo and behold, now to God be the glory, we are looking good and fine because of the antiretroviral. So now it is happening. The people I do counsel tell me that they don't like treatment close to them. They like it to be afar where nobody knows them. And it's happening. And when that comes, look, the cost involved is a key thing. the cost involved. When pharmacies go on strike, you go and you don't get the drug, you come back. You go, you don't get it, you come back. So these are the issues. Why the stigma must come down. So my appeal to the public is that it is wrongful to stigmatize. It is killing to stigmatize. I'm HIV, you are not HIV. But we are talking from the same microphone. That does not mean you are going to be infected. No. So therefore, why are they stigmatizing again? Today is me. Tomorrow, it could be you. But you will never like somebody to stigmatize you when you are positive. So why do you do it to others? So we have to stop the stigmatization so that the centers that are close to us, people can patronize it.
Now, tied up, Reverend...
Meanwhile, the Ghana AIDS Commission is asking the public to treat with a lot of caution claims made by a Ghanaian doctor that he's discovered a potential cure for HIV/AIDS. The Ghanaian medical researcher Dr. Ato Duncan announced his breakthrough potential cure a few weeks ago, asserting the efficacy of his trial drug known as COA72 is not in doubt following successful human trials. Speaking to Joy News on the sidelines of the 12th Partnership and Business Forum of the Ghana AIDS Commission, however, a programs manager for the National AIDS STI Control Program, Dr. Stephen Ayisi-Ado, stated that the drug COA72 will have to go through several other stages before its approval by the World Health Organization and Ghana's FDA.
What data is concerned and the evidence, there is no cure yet. We've heard herbalists and other groups of people, recent ones in the media, claiming cure, but they themselves will admit that before a drug is declared as even a drug for a particular disease, it has to go through certain processes. We need to, first of all, apart from the test tube, in vitro test, check whether it can even be accepted by even animals first. Then after that, you take it to human beings. And even that there are different steps of the clinical trials. In coming out with a medication, you look at, apart from efficacy, which is its effectiveness, you are looking at its side effects, possible potential harm to the individual. Let me tell you now, if I pick Parazone, any antiseptic, and I put it in a tube with HIV or the virus, a few hours when I check, the virus will die. But I cannot extrapolate, therefore, that it is a cure for HIV. Therefore, I should give Parazone to individuals. That's why you go through a certain process. And before even it's utilized in the country, it has to be certified by the FDA. The recent claims, we have checked with the FDA, they have not certified or registered any medication to that effect. Actually, we as a country have given opportunity to even herbalists. There's a desk, Center for Research in Plant Medicine, the Ministry of Health, to subject all potential medications, herbal or whatever source, to a certain process so that at the end of the day, we can move it through and say it's a cure. So we are more anxious for a cure than every other person. So even globally in international conferences, there's nothing like that. Okay. And I want to establish that people make claims that South Africa and all that. If it was the case, they wouldn't even come here. The South Africans would capture it, and everybody is in a hurry to be a hero. All right, so
Doc,
there's no cure. Until you hear from the National AIDS Control Program, from the Ghana Health Service, the Ministry of Health, please, of the Commission, that there is a cure.
Successful, I must say, trial in South Africa, and I have interactions with those two people. First of all, I want to find out why wasn't it the case that we created a congenial atmosphere or a serene atmosphere for Dr. Ato Duncan to go ahead with the trials here in Ghana, but he had to go all the way to South Africa to carry out the trial.
Nobody will prevent anybody from undertaking a trial in Ghana. You have to meet the requirements. They are standards. You have to go through certain phases. And the ethical review boards, Noguchi and all the people will make sure that you do that, because undertaking any trial with human subject has serious risks. In fact, which is why when you even discover a medication, you are made to administer in your own country before other countries, because we don't want it to be used as a biological weapon. So this claim that it was allowed in South Africa and not here is unfounded, because if they met every criteria to move it to another level, nobody will prevent it. Once you present a protocol which is clear, which meets the requirements, you have a certain previous historical data and all that, you will be allowed. There is nothing wrong. And we don't certify people for medication and all that. There are institutions that do that. You know, so if you want to undertake any study, FDA and all that, they will do that. They will subject you to it. It has even nothing to do with us. And we also are very careful. We are neutral. You don't promote somebody's medication and so on and so forth. That is not what we are doing. As much as possible, we want the fact. Once we get it, once it's adopted as a country medication, we will procure it. So, in fact, the last thing we will do is even trying to go and support when we don't have all the facts and all that. We don't do that. And as much as possible, some of even our medications, we always go for the generics. Are you getting me? But it should be acceptable, WHO certified, everything, meet all the requirements, and then we promote, we procure those medications. So the engagement, if they want our input, they can come, we'll give them feedback. But we work with Noguchi, we work with our FDA. Remember, it's one system, so they play different roles on our behalf as well. Until stakeholders are able to come to a conclusion that indeed we have a medication, Ghana will package it.
But have you received the report from Noguchi?
I have gotten the information from Noguchi. I've also reviewed information from FDA, and it is clear. In fact, they have issued a warning. They've even issued a warning.
The Noguchi Memorial Institute?
The FDA have issued a warning to these individuals who are doing this.
But the Noguchi Memorial Institute also, what recommendation did they give about the drug? Because it went trials, they tested it.
It's gone through some in vitro testing and all that. But that is not, whatever they found, is not equal to a cure. It means that they've only come out to say that the medication has gone through one stage. They've recommended it has to go through further stages before it can now be certified as a drug that can be.
Sorry to catch you, but that report says that the drug reduces the viral by 99%.
Many other drugs, I keep giving you examples, reduce the virus by a certain 100% even. The fact that I put antiseptic in a tube and it reduced by 100% doesn't make it a cure.
But senior research fellow at the Noguchi Memorial Institute at the University of Ghana, Legon, Dr. Jacob Bano, had this to say about the drug COA-72.
The COA drug, which we tested against HIV in the laboratory, is one of the processes that drug discovery goes through. You go through an in vitro system. If the result you get is promising, then you move to an in vivo system using either humanized animal models where the drug has not been used on human beings at all. But with COA drug, before it's even brought to the lab, many people are on it. And results certified by doctors prove that it has enhanced their immune status. Their CD4 cells, which were low, now has risen up. The viral load, which was very high initially, has come down. Now, these two things play in bringing back infected HIV people to live normally. Initially, people were using the CD4 and CD8 counts as parameters to measure whether a person on any drug is doing well or not. But the viral load is the critical point that needed to be considered, because it is telling you how much of the virus we have in the person initially and how much it has reduced. Remember, HIV itself just creates immune deficiency. It therefore creates the avenue for other opportunistic infections to set in.
Let's move on to other stories. Now, power supply to some parts of the country appears to have been cut since last week. This has resulted in a number of affected Ghanaians taking to social media to vent their anger and frustration. We'll bring you more of those reactions from social media shortly. But before that, let's read this statement that is coming from the Electricity Company of Ghana. And it says the ECG wishes to inform its cherished customers that there is an interruption in power supply in the western part of Accra due to an accident which led to a cable cut tripping the system at its Malam bulk supply point. ECG engineers are working assiduously to restore power as soon as possible. The inconvenience is very much regretted. Let's get the latest on this, and I'm joined on the line now by the head of public communications at the Electricity Company of Ghana, William Boateng. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us on News Desk.
Yeah, good morning, and thanks for having me on this.
Great. So you are just telling us briefly in the statement you have released that there was a power cut in around the western part of Accra. Tell us exactly what happened. What led to this?
Well, I'm told we experienced a jumper cut, what we call system tripping. So after the investigations, the engineers identified a jumper cut, and within less than an hour, it was repaired. That was yesterday in the evening. And so yesterday evening, those residing, I think, western part of Accra, the western part of the experienced the outage. And within an hour, we picked a lot of the loops after the work has been completed. But then now we have some other challenges, still with some system tripping. I'm told we had challenges with Kwashiman, Santa Maria, Sotium, and then for some time, I think, or Yarifa. They are on the ground, the engineers are on the ground, they are working on those tripping.
Mr. Boateng, this is not the first time we're having this challenge. Before last week and before this challenge that you've just spoken about in your statement as well, there were some power trips. What is happening?
Oh, nothing much. It's part of our system, it's part of our business, or it's part of what we call the distribution challenges that we have, especially coming out from load shedding. The system is now stabilizing, and so load is growing, and it's putting a lot of pressure on some of our lines and our transformers. So we have identified them, and then, it won't take a day or two. When you are injecting the system, it takes some weeks and months. And so some of the issues are such that it takes some time for us to address. Some of them immediately we identify, we definitely will address.
Mr. Boateng, are we producing?
That has nothing to do with load shedding. I mean, that is the most important thing. We should draw the line between load shedding and the distribution system challenges that we are having now.
So you're saying this is not load shedding?
No.
Are we producing less than the demand is?
No, we are not.
Now, we talked about
We are not. We are not being asked to schedule. When we are asked to schedule that, we can say for a fact that we are producing less than the demand. But if we are not being asked to schedule, it means that we are okay. So the system is good. We have a stable system.
So, for instance, how much is being produced and how much is the demand?
I'm unable to give you that exact figure because this is different. We are not operating everywhere in the country. So what they produce or what they give us entirely, they give us our part and the rest is given to the Northern Electricity Distribution. We have also the mines and some independent distribution companies like the one in Tema.
So we just talked about the fact that this is not the first time this has happened. You've also admitted that there are still some areas, I think you talked about Kwashiman, that are having...
Some of them, as and when they are restored or as and when they finish the work, we'll restore...
When are those areas going to have their lights restored?
Oh, I just mentioned them, the Sotium, we have some tributes that they are working on it. I may mention some parts of Kwashiman, Santa Maria. I'm sure by close of today, they should complete the work.
Let's wrap up this conversation. How soon are we going to sort these trips, the cuts in power and all of that? How soon are we going to deal with that? So that it doesn't happen as often as it's happening now.
Yes, it's not as simple. The one that we all do, the one that we usually notice are the big ones. We are talking about the bulk supply points that was occurred yesterday for about 45 minutes. That's Malam, because the western part covers a huge area. But the ones that we are talking about are secondary transformers. For example, we have about 21,000 secondary transformers in our system, the ECG system. About 100 primary substations. So the transformers you see around your area, for example, if they are due for maintenance, for example, you go off for a while or the whole day, then they undertake that exercise. That one, it means that you'll be going off maybe once in a month or so, something like that. It should not be regular. So if you are going off regular in your area, you call our 49611. But these trippings, and I'm talking about, we are working on them. Immediately we finish our. Now, if there's a certain pattern, I mean, every day or every other day, you go off for about 6 hours, you can easily tell that there's a certain pattern. Let us know, because you are not shedding it.
All right, we'll end here. Thank you very much. You heard William Boateng. He's the head of communications at the Electricity Company of Ghana. Let's get those reactions we spoke to you about earlier in the bulletin being poured on social media. And I'll read some from Facebook. Anane Samuel is saying, it's not Accra only. Bojiasi area in Central Region. Dumso is tormenting us. Mahama and his cronies want to hang on to power at all cost. Jerry talks about Dumso is always with us so far as incompetent Mahama is opposed. That's a bit harsh there. Frimpong Daniel says, haven't you heard Dr. Baumia several times saying voting for NDC is bringing back the erratic power outages, also called Dumso? NDC is just doing propaganda in the energy sector. Now, Henry Boa says, yes, so Dumso never goes to anywhere. He is with us until the NDC leaves. He will never leave. No light at Hacho Ecomog. I'll move on to Fabienne, who says, in Hohoi district, more than 3 weeks they are in Dumso. How can we live in a country like this? Prince Nuruddin Baumia says John Mahama must go, period. Atipo says mine has been off for an hour now at Tabora number 6. Kennedy Daniels, okay, I can read his. He says, let me move on to Asamoah Menu Frederick. He says, Kumasi, we have the same problem. And then I'll take the last one from here, Francis Anochi, who says, please, Dumso never went anywhere. It was only on leave because of the impending elections. It has finally landed like a Kai Dumso twice. So that's quite funny there. So those are the reactions I spoke to you about on social media. People are not happy about what's going on. And it seems to not just be in Accra, like you just heard, in different parts of the country as well. Let's talk about what happened this morning. And the Ghana Meteorological Agency has withdrawn its services owing to lack of resources. The agency says the Ghana Civil Aviation Authority and the airport company, who are major stakeholders responsible for providing funds for the body, have failed to do so effectively. This has resulted in the close down of most fuel stations. I've been joined on the telephone line by the Vice Chairman, Ghana Meteorological Agency, Division of Public Workers Union, Nana Kofi Opoku, to have a discussion on this. Good morning to you, sir. Thank you for joining us on News Desk.
Yeah, good morning, Beatrice, and good morning to your listeners.
Great. So you have withdrawn your services. What are the likely effects of this action?
Yes, I can confirm that we have withdrawn our services. And the likely effects, especially to the aviation industry, is that we give the aviation industry the weather cover for pilots, when they're flying en route to other destinations, when they are landing here, when they are taking off here. We provide weather information to them. So your guess is as good as mine. If we say we have withdrawn our services, what will be the attendant problems? We believe that is going to affect the aviation industry.
So does it mean that domestic flights cannot operate?
That decision is for civil aviation to make. We are saying we are no longer going to provide weather information until our grievances have been heard and have been sorted out. So if they feel they can go ahead without the weather cover, they can go ahead and allow the airlines to operate, well, that lies in their purview. But this is what we are saying. We have withdrawn our services.
Mr. Poku, you are calling for the amendment of the Ghana Meteor Act. What exactly do you want changed?
Yeah, exactly. The Ghana Meteorological Agency Act 682 came into being in 2004. Now, let me read a portion of the Act, which says that there should be an establishment of a meteorological fund, where sources of the funding, amongst which captures two, that monies that Parliament may allocate to the agency for the performance of its functions, and fees and charges accruing to the agency in the performance of its functions. What we notice here is that fees and charges, but it's not very specific. So what we are asking for is for the Act to be amended to take care of exactly the services we provide and for the resources that are supposed to be given to us. For instance, we know that there is an airport tax that is collected, and Civil Aviation Ghana Airports Company are given a percentage of it. We are a contributor to whatever goes on at the airport. We are also asking, to be given a portion of it. There is this overhead charges that goes to Civil Aviation and also to Ghana Airport Company. We are asking that our portion should be given onto us. So we want the Act to be amended to reflect these conditions, so that at least we can have enough resources to be able to operate not only here. Now we say that Tamale is now an airport. We need to have equipment there. We need to have well-trained forecasters there to be able to give accurate information and briefings to pilots who are going to use that particular facility.
Mr. Poku, you would admit that what you are asking for is not a simple thing like we are talking about. You're talking about cabinet coming in here. You're talking about parliament coming in here. You're saying that within this period, these agencies or these stakeholders, including the Transport Ministry, will be able to effect the changes you need at this time?
Exactly. In fact, when this happened, the Ministry of Communication is a sector ministry. So we have been in discussions with the ministry. The last discussion we had with the minister was to the effect that the president had given an executive approval to the amended document. All that is left to be done is for the ministers of communication, transport, and finance to meet to iron out these differences. At the meeting, he assured us that if they meet, it shouldn't even go beyond a day. And because it is an amendment, once they finish, it goes to Parliament. We also have assurance from Parliament that indeed they can take care of it before the current Parliament rises. So we do not see the reason why this cannot go through before this particular Parliament rises. We see that the foot dragging is coming from our ministry. It is for our ministry to initiate the meeting as soon as possible so that the process could be kick-started. And we see that our ministry is dilly-dallying. They are not dealing well with us. That is why it has come to this particular point.
All right, thank you very much. We'll end it here. And you heard Nana Kofi Opoku. He's the vice chair of the Ghana Meteorological Agency, and he confirmed their withdrawal of services today. You're still here on News Desk on Joy News on Multi TV. Stay here. And you're still here on News Desk on Joy News on Multi TV. We'll bring you business shortly, but let's do this one. The Chief Justice, Georgina Theodora Wood, has directed judges of the High Court to prioritize electoral-related dispute in order to ensure the national electoral calendar is not disrupted. According to a statement from the Office of the Judicial Secretary, the judges are expected to hear cases on day-to-day basis, including weekends. Derek Ekosam joins me in the studio with details of that. Derek, what more is contained in the statement?
Well, the Chief Justice has appointed 17 High Court judges to adjudicate all election-related disputes between now and when the elections are held. And the statement also says that these cases are supposed to take precedence over any other case that comes before them.
And are they going to include holidays as well?
Well, they won't sit on holidays. They are expected to hear the cases every day, including weekends, from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's when they're supposed to sit. And then also every week, they're supposed to give the Chief Justice weekly reports on the cases from right when they start hearing them to when they finally dispose of the cases. And then the directive is actually taking effect from Tuesday, October 18, 2016, which was yesterday.
All right, thank you very much, Derek Echo Sam, and I'm sure we'll get more on that later. Let's go to the Ashanti region, where the presidential candidate of the New Patriotic Party, Nana Akufo-Addo, is starting his campaign tour of the region today. The Ashanti region is seen as the stronghold of the opposition party, and this campaign is quite an important one on the calendar of the NPP. Insure FM's Ohimi Interior is on the line. He's following Nana Akufo-Addo, and he joins us live now. Ohimi, where is Nana expected to be today?
Yes, Beatrice, according to MPP regional executive, Nana is likely to kickstart his campaign tour of the region in the Achuma Kwangoma constituency. And coincidentally, the constituency has also produced an independent candidate from the MPP who is contesting against the party's sponsored candidate. So this is an all-important campaign tour for the MPP, a flag bearer. And beyond the Achuma Kwangoma constituency, he's also built to visit 4 other constituencies today, and will follow up tomorrow until Friday, where I'm told he'll be in the Mampong constituency. So in all, 10 constituencies have been slated, or he's built to visit 10 constituencies in the Ashanti region for the second time within the past 5 months.
I'm sure you've been speaking with some of the people in some of these constituencies Nana Akufo-Addo is expected to visit today. What have they told you regarding their challenges?
Indeed, it's not only people in these constituencies, but MPP supporters in general in the Ashanti region, and they believe strongly that Nana represents the hope for the party and the hope for Ghanaians, especially as he touch base with his message of good hope. And they expect the MPP flag bearer to touch on unemployment, to touch on infrastructure deficit, and also to touch on difficulties in general, and also talk about increasing tariff rates in the country. So indeed, they also expect the flag bearer to address issues of nurses and teacher training allowances. And for the party regional executives, they hope that this will be a turning point for the party at the time that they think the NDC has failed woefully in government. So that has been the expectation of people. And today, this morning, I've seen people, especially body painters, who have painted themselves in calico drinks and all that around the KNUC area and then Asafu. So these are an indication that indeed people are expectant of Nanado's visit to the Ashanti region.
Thank you very much, Insura FM's Ohimi Interior. We can go to the Volta region now, and we know that the president is continuing with his 5-day campaign tour. Is day 3 of that campaign tour. Ivy Setoji is our reporter there. She's been following the president. Ivy, let's first start with the residents. What are they saying regarding what they expect a president to do?
They are expecting the president to fulfill his promises made to them, particularly on the nature of the roads, the Qatar roads, and some other roads in the Volta region, especially the northern parts of the Volta region. They are saying that Volta region is the World Bank for NDC, and so they expect a lot of developmental projects in the Volta region, especially the northern part. And so that is what they are expecting from President Mahama of the government.
And where is the president expected to go today, his itinerary?
Currently, we are waiting for the president at Kokwe, in the Kokwe municipality, where there's going to be a mini rally. He's also going to visit Kolokwaki. So these are some of the places he will visit today, and then he will continue to move.
Thank you very much, Ivy Setoji. Let's still go up north to the Bono Ahafu region, where Precious Semevo is also following the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra. Hello, Precious. What's happening there? Hello, Precious.
Yes, hello, Victory.
Great. You are with the Chief of Staff in the Bono Ahafo region. Tell us what's happening there.
Well, Victory, today is day 3 of the Chief of Staff's visit to the Bono Ahafo region. And as I speak, for day 3, the team is yet to move, but still moving quite soon. But let me just tell you about what happened yesterday in particular, when the Chief of Staff and his team, together with the regional minister and council minister, the Deputy General Secretary of NDC, Koko Anidowu, and the other teams all taking part. Now, first, the team made their first stop in Kuranza North, where they went to Kusunya, brief chat with the chiefs and people, and interacted with party members, and moved on to other villages and small towns to have interaction with them. And this is really what has been happening is the chiefs applauding the NDC government for the developmental projects that they've witnessed, and also plead for more, especially with their roads, schools, and then some police stations and other health facilities in those districts. And the minister, that is the regional minister particularly, has been having a dig at the NPP, saying that in all their term in office, they never put up a single secondary school nor university, and that is what the NDC government has been able to do. He talked particularly about the Bono Ahafo region, where they have 16 community day schools built by the John Dramani Mahama administration, and he believes that that is one of the reasons why the citizenry will have to continue voting for the NDC in government. Now, Professor Kwamina Ahoy has also been speaking. Many thought that he has retired, but he's actively campaigning for President John Dramani Mahama.
All right. Thank you very much. We'll end it here, Precious Semevo, and we'll come back to you at midday to give us the latest on that. But when we come back, we'll bring you the latest in the world of business with Abuaje Riafe, and in sport with George Adu Jr. Stay with us.